role-playing podcast made for people who think that average damage is a personal insult.
It is, for sure.
How are you doing, Zoop?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, that's right. Welcome, everybody, to 2026. I hope it's going to be a better year than last year.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, it's sad.
Yeah, we're not going to talk
Yeah,
about how it
let's.
started, but we're just going to hope.
Yeah, we're just gonna hope. We're gonna hope. Certain things happen and certain people are shuffled off the mall. Just the usual stuff.
Mm.
But anyway, how was your New Year's celebrations?
Oh, I did absolutely nothing. How about you?
Same, absolutely the same. That's. Well, I know I tell a lie. We stayed up and watched Stranger Things.
Yes. Okay. So, that's awesome. That is what I figured was one of the things that we talked about, because we talked about, since we don't have Misfit today, we kind of talked about, oh,
Hmm.
do we want to put it off for another day? But there has been so much going on Threads, that I was like, no, I think that we definitely need to meet. And most of what's going on in Threads is Stranger Things had their finale, which, by the way, I haven't seen more than one episode of Stranger Things. Like, I know I have a tendency to watch things late. Like, I'm only now watching Wednesday and She-Ra and the
Hmm.
Princesses of Power. So expect me to start watching Stranger Things maybe in about a year. But
No, that's
I
fair. That
yeah,
is that
I
is
know
fair.
that everybody is super excited about it, and Threads is just filled with people saying, "Oh my god, I need to play D&D."
I know. I mean, it's one of these double-edged things. It's because D&D is a recurring theme during the entirety of the run of the show. It does help introduce players to this amazing hobby. The problem is it's introducing them to the worst aspects of this hobby.
Yeah, I definitely think, as I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming that, just like Critical Role, it is giving incoming players a certain idea of how things are going to work. And so the first thing that I want to say is that, you know, dispense with your expectations of what the
Okay, of
game is
course.
going to be.
It's going to be 2 hours of arguing about a rule.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's what it's going to be.
so first of all, like, for everybody, I suggest definitely give it a go. Give it at least one or two, you know, uh trials. If you have some disposable income, start playing is a great place to get an idea, for one or two sessions, and make sure that you like it before you go like looking for a group that is just getting together to play, that you don't have to pay
Hmm.
for. If money is an object, you can look at D&D. Start Playing has a lot of other systems out there. So if you try D&D, and and if you do try D&D and you don't like it, um I suggest, taking a minute to dissect why you didn't like it, because there's several reasons why you might not like it. One might be the DM. The DM may not be the right kind of DM for you, in which case you need to um do the same thing as like when you're dating. Go find the right DM, go find the right group. It may be that D&D is not the right game for you. So, like, what do you like? Do you like the war games aspect? Do you like the rolling of the dice? Do you like the narrative, the role play? Do you want to create a character? Are you looking for Eurocentric medieval times? Are you looking forward to being a a small furry woodland creature. There's so many options out there. So and then, the other thing to consider is like maybe role playing isn't your jam, which I do think that it is important for all TTRPG aficionados to acknowledge that for some people TTRPGs are not the thing, and that is okay.
No, I mean that I 100% agree with. I mean, I've got my partner who has no interest in this, and none whatsoever,
Yeah.
and it's fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love for her to join me in a game, but the fact that there is no interest, it just is already a hurdle to kind of get across the original threshold. If
Yeah.
the way I see it, if you are playing a TTRPG is because at some point it's piqued your interest. I don't think many people fall into it. I think it might happen, but I think for the most part, somebody at some point has gone, "Oh, I've just seen an episode of Stranger Things, or I've just seen, an episode of The Big Bang Theory where they've played this really weird game. I want to give it a go." So yeah, I think definitely give it a try.
Yeah.
Preferably not D&D because it's barely a role playing game.
Right. And but that's a good way to figure out, like, cuz um for some people the war games aspect is what they're really interested in. And
Hmm.
then like um war what is it? Warhammer 40K might be the thing, D&D might be the right thing. Like I definitely have friends that D&D is the game that they want to play, and I respect that. Like, and then there's
Yeah,
people who
100%.
want other experiences. Um but I this was something that I thought of because I saw somebody posted something like, I tried D&D, like I don't really understand how D&D works. I tried it once and I was so chaotic that I caused somebody else to quit. And when I read that, I got the impression that this is something that the person wants to do, but they didn't have a good introduction to it. They didn't have the right GM to kind of mitigate their impulsive decisions and like say, yes, this is a good chaotic decision, and no, this is a bad chaotic decision. And then when they explained the situation further, it turned out that they wanted to play because their friends were all really into it and they wanted to spend time with their friends. And then the person who left the game, actually nobody got along with that person anyways, and so everyone was really relieved that they left. And then it was like, okay, then I don't need to have a conversation with you about how to make your role playing experience better because it's not something that works for you. So I want to acknowledge and give space to the people that role playing games isn't for them. um
I mean, it's a weird one. Yeah, I my character or my decisions were so chaotic that I made somebody quit. Right. Well, maybe the person that quit is a bit of a child.
Oh yeah, yeah. It turns out that it was a person who they just nobody was getting along with anyway. So it was like just a fortuitous thing. Um, but
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've played with many different types of people. Some good, some bad, some terrible. But at the same time, at no point have I gone, "Why am I going to quit? I'm going to push you out of the game if I need to."
yeah, I mean, and there are times when the people that you're playing with, it's not a good fit, and that's okay too. Like again, dating, therapy, all of these, and D&D or TTRPGs in general all require finding the right match. So,
I think personally, I think one of the skills of a GM, or a skill a GM has to pick up and has to make a priority more so than their storytelling, more so than their engagement. They have to find a way to approach new players.
Yes.
It is a skill. It's not something that everybody can do. A GM, it can be the best GM in the world, but if they don't have the patience and they don't have the tact and they don't have the right sort of mentality to get this new player and kind of go, don't worry, you're going to be safe. I'm going to make sure of it. You're going to be safe, and I'm going to make sure you have a good time. And if you cannot do that, then that is something as a GM you need to learn.
Or just, play with people who are more comfortable with the system. But definitely, if you want to be a GM that plays with new players, you need to have the strength to be able to allow a player to make a chaotic decision, and like know when the player is like making a decision that may seem chaotic or impulsive or the wrong thing, but will eventually move the story in a positive direction for all the players, and when the player is making a decision that is not in the party's best interest. And I mean, we talked about it last time. I made a decision that ended up, ending a campaign. And like, I would say in that case, like, a GM should be able to, like, if your player is saying that they want to do something that is just fundamentally doesn't work with the core of what you've created, you need to make sure that you're a GM that's strong enough that you don't just roll back on the I have to say yes. You have to be able to say, um, I want to make sure that you understand the consequences of your
Hmm.
action. Um,
Yeah, there's
because
there's nothing wrong with parting the curtain
yeah,
and kind of going, okay, I hear what you want to do. Like, let's take your example. Okay, so you wanted to go to an island to get help from this tribe. You weren't aware they were cannibals, and you weren't aware that this is something that nobody in the world would ever have done. That, as a GM, you kind of need to go, I'll let you do this if this is what you really want to do, but you need to be able to make an informed decision.
exactly, exactly. And in combat, this is also super important because in combat, when you're playing as a player, like, you know your skills, and you have there are some things that you have an understanding of that the character wouldn't have an understanding of, but there are also things that your character, like, if you were actually in that situation, would have an understanding of that you don't have an understanding of.
Hmm. Yeah.
And as a GM, you have to be willing to take the time to explain this. Like, your character knows, like, you may not realize it, but your character knows if they right now cast Fireball, it's going to have this effect on your players. Or,
Hmm.
you know, your character knows that yelling in the ear of a giant isn't actually going to deafen them. Like, even
Yeah.
though that sounds
Ye-
like super funny.
Yeah, it's kind of it's introducing a bit of meta knowledge and just kind of going, yeah, all right, you can do this if this is really what you want to do, but your character is a highly trained soldier. As a highly trained soldier, at some point during their training, they would have been told that charging directly into battle probably isn't the best idea. But if
Yeah,
this is what you want to do, by all means, go for it. But at least then you're giving the players the ability to make an informed decision. Like you did not have that opportunity in that campaign. And
exactly.
when you said it last week, I didn't react, but I've just been thinking about it the week, just kind of going, wait a minute, that was that I call bullshit on that because you should have been given the choice. You should have kind of given this information that presumably you may, as a player, you may not know, but your character, if this is a worldwide thing that people know, your character would know that.
Yeah, like your character would understand exactly how loathsome these people are. You haven't immersed yourself in the lore so much that you as the player understand like how against the grain this idea is, but I need to now
Hmm.
spend the time to make sure that you understand that while you as a player think this is a good idea, your character would find this idea generally, like if your character is a normal person in this world, would find this idea so loathsome and inexplicable that you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of GMs use the lack of player knowledge as a sort of tool to be able to create these sort of gotcha moments. I mean, I've certainly had a GM like that where you could tell they were at the table just kind of going, "Oh, do you believe it? Do you pull it? Are you gonna pull it?" And you're like, "Will you shut the fuck up? Just shut the fuck up. I know what you're trying to do. It's not fun for anybody at the table but you. So why bother?" And they have these, and people, and that's like a very basic example. But if you are sort of gatekeeping the law of your world, then you're kind of doing the same, but just on a bigger scale. I see it as.
Yeah, exactly. Another example, unfortunately I'm going to go back to D&D for this, but like um
Oh,
passive perception versus perception. So like you might use passive perception because like you
mm,
know that your character is, or the your player's characters are currently like in a bazaar and they're more interested in finding the right outfit to wear. And so like passive perception is a good idea, but like if they're in a cave or a dungeon, just because they didn't say I'm looking over my shoulders every way, like you know that that's true because these characters are seasoned dungeon delvers who are going to be in this situation looking left and right. um
mm.
and like it
Yeah, I
shouldn't
like.
always be on the player to say I have my eyes on a swivel.
I never did. I always used to. I always, especially because I was never under the assumption that a group of characters going into a dungeon would be going in carelessly.
Yeah.
So I would just either call for them, or even in like Pathfinder where you've got your exploration modes, where you can go, right, okay, so while you're investigating this dungeon, what are you doing? One person might be searching. Right, okay, he's the one who gets the perception. You're stealthing. Okay, you're gonna be kind of going stealth. So, and everything has a bonus or a penalty that is then applied. But yeah, I got so sick of the perception check, perception
Yeah.
check,
I
perception
do
check.
I do like that about the Pathfinder system, in that as you are adventuring, like as you are moving, you have this like ongoing action that you can say that this is what my character is really
Hmm.
paying attention to right
That's gonna
now.
that's their focus, as it were.
Yeah.
Your character is focusing on this. Um, and then you've got your DCs, so kind of like your passive perception, so it's your skill plus 10. So I kind of use that as well. So enemy hiding, does it beat your perception DC? You're not actively looking. If your character is currently trying to decipher some runes on the wall, then they're not going to be actively looking for something. So you just move
Exactly.
to a perception DC as opposed to the rigmarole of perception check, perception. I got so fucking sick of it. And D&D and Pathfinder are games that are that base their entire sort of system on attrition. So that's why you have these dungeons where it's just these inane, pointless combats, one after the other. They're only there to grind down the characters before the big boss battle. So I got to the point where I really stopped calling for them and just kind of going, yeah, you see him. Yeah, you see him. Roll initiative and do whatever. I can't be bothered anymore because it just became so taxing.
And I think as a GM, you also, that is a skill that you acquire, to know when to call for a roll and when to say, yeah, you want to do that, you do it. Like, um you don't need to roll to open each door. There are times when, like, opening the door is not a big deal. Or like, the weirdest thing I think is like when someone calls for, like, you're like, I open the door, and then you call for a perception check, and then you say the door is locked. Why did you need to do a perception check? Like, either way that the door is locked.
Yeah, I've tried the door. Does it open? No, then it's certainly locked. It's like, oh, it's just, it becomes tedium.
Yeah.
And it becomes tedium. And one thing I like about Delta Green is all based on percentages. Okay, so and the beginning of the book, it gives you a sort of rough sort of guide as to what percentages mean. So if you're 20%, you're trained in something. If you're 30, you're more expert. And if you get to like 40, if you're like some 60% in something, means you're like you've a master's degree in that particular field, sort of thing. So it just, a lot of times it's like, if you know, if somebody's like
Base
percentage or
percentage
somebody's
is
skill
high
is like
enough.
60%, don't call for a roll. They just do it. You cannot,
Right.
if somebody has a doctorate in bureaucracy, why make them roll?
Exactly. And like one of those things, you can be like, anything that they should, because they have that 60%, anything that they should be able to do, unless there is, like, as a GM, that there is some trick in there. There is something that really causes a chance of it not working. Like, don't call for the roll at that time.
Yeah,
If the person has got a 20 on their drive check, don't have them roll to see if they can drive you to the store. Like, but
yeah.
if it's a car that, like, regularly breaks down, and like, then
Mm.
maybe you would have them do a roll.
Yeah, or if you're in a high speed pursuit,
Yeah,
okay, you
exactly,
can give me a
exactly.
drive check. If you're doing something without pressure, without any sort of thing, there's no point in rolling. Just, there are so many points of failure in the systems that I enjoy playing. There are so many points of failure that adding in the dynamic of a dice roll isn't always the necessary thing. Delta Green is a prime example. People can go down the wrong avenue of investigation. That's what they've chosen to do. No dice roller is going to save them from that. So, you
This
know,
is
make
also
I like to take dice rolls, or I like to call for dice rolls, should I say, when failure is relevant.
Yes. 100%. Yes. If failure is relevant, that's the only time you should be calling for a
Yeah.
dice roll. Like,
Mm.
don't be like, "Oh, you're like, if this person is approaching the city, like, don't have them roll a dice roll to see if they notice that there are two towers. Of course they notice there's two towers.
Yeah. Yeah. But even if like, okay, I want to roll acrobatics to do a somersault backwards just for my own amusement. Yeah, just you do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you fail, then what happens? You get up and you carry on. It
Yeah,
it you
like
know, failure is no has no narrative relevance. It does not push the story forward. In fact, it slows it down.
and it's also a matter of like knowing your players. Like if you have a player that for them the fun of the game is to roll a die, then sure, if they're doing a backward somersault, let them roll it and
No.
you can narrate. But if that is what they find fun,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it's
other than
it's
that,
about
just it's
knowing, like,
pointless.
know and understand what your players find fun. If they find the narrative part of it more fun, then yeah, of course they do the somersault. If they are really, really taking joy in the obnoxious rolling of dice, like, you know,
Yeah, that doesn't last long. That
yeah,
probably lasts about
exactly.
two
And
or
you
three
can always check
sessions,
in. Like
and just get
if
it out
your
of the system.
character, yeah, if your player's like, I want to do a backward somersault roll, you can check in and be like, is that something that you want to do a check on? Is that something that you want to have a chance of failure, or do you want to just say that you do it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, for the most part, I just move the story along.
Yeah. It
I'm
it all
I'm I'm
depends
getting
it all depends on your
grizzled in my
players
old
and like
age.
and I
I'm just
do.
old and grizzled.
There is one thing though. So I think the systems that we've been talking about, they have like a large list of prescribed roles, especially it sounds like Delta Green, because I haven't played it before, but it sounds like it has like a skills column, and um D&D, Pathfinder all have a skills thing. But like when you get into like Powered by the Apocalypse, um one thing I've noticed in a lot of by the Apocalypse games is that there's not a lot of times, if a GM hasn't really trained themselves on running Powered by the Apocalypse games, there's actually the opposite problem where there's not enough roles. Um, because
Hmm.
they don't necessarily know. And I mean, I ran a mini series of demigods, and I was recently cleaning up, and I found the list of basic moves, and I realized that there were a bunch of basic moves that I didn't have them use. Um like I didn't have them roll to sway somebody, or I didn't have them roll to bend fate. And that was my mistake as a GM for not making myself more aware of
Hmm.
what the basic moves are and the chances for them to roll. And the reason in a PBTA game that you want to give your players more chances to roll is because failure is generally how the rolls are generally how they level up.
Hmm.
So I've played in some masks games where there just haven't been many rolls, and so like we're not really leveling up, and it depends on the game and the focus. But maybe you want that. Like, I don't want to go through a whole session never rolling because I've given
Hmm.
been given no chance to for my character to evolve in terms of what the game gives me as
Hmm.
skills.
I mean, the only thing about PBTA games that I can't get my head around is the moves themselves. I mean, for me, I just I don't know. I feel like it kind of pigeonholes what the players can do, and that's why I never really play PBTA games.
Right.
Um, I base off the stats. You've got your stats, okay, and it may coincide with the sort of published roles or moves as the system depends, but just give me a strength or just give me a thingy roll,
Right. Yeah. And I
and
mean
that's
that
kind of why I struggle with PBTA.
Exactly. And so like if you wanted to if if you found a PBTA game that you really wanted to run because like some of the other stuff in there really appealed to you, then I would say that like that's a great game to get together with a GM who is really proficient and running PBTAs and get some advice. Um
Hmm. No, I mean the closest I run to PBTA is Blades in the Dark.
mhm,
Um, but that has a skill list. That has a
yes.
list of skills that the players can use, and the skills I really enjoy in Blades because they are purposely vague.
Yes.
So the players can use a multitude of skills to do different things. You're not tied down to, okay, so you have to use sway or you have to use I can't remember them off the top of my head. Um, Whereas in Blades in the Dark, they are purposely designed to cross over, and it's a very clever system.
Yeah, and I do think like if I were looking at like some of the so for demigods like bend fate roll 2d6 plus weird, I would probably keep it as weird in all situations because that's like your ability to control um like it is specifically to bend fate, but um like maybe to sway somebody, if I had somebody who was choosing to sway somebody using their strength, they're using their prowess instead of their awe, I might change that to be 2d6 plus prowess instead of awe,
Mm,
um because that is how they're choosing. It's
mm,
like what is the skill that they're using to sway. um I think like intimidation in D&D is usually plus charisma, but for a barbarian, if they're using their might to be intimidating, it should be plus strength.
You see, I love this topic because I'm very much in favor of intimidation being charisma.
Always.
Like I've worked in the nightclub scene, and obviously in the nightclub you've got your door staff, you've got your security. 9 times out of 10, they are people who are do not look like pushovers. They do look, they are visibly huge, and that a lot of them are into martial arts, and a lot of so I realistically standing next to one of them and I piss them off and they could potentially do damage. But the difference is, can they make me can they make me believe that they will?
Mhm.
It's not about if they can or if they have the possibility. It's if they can make me believe that they will. And for that, you need charisma. You can get someone who can rip a phone book in half, but unless they can convey a certain element of threat to you, then
Mhm.
all they're doing is a circus act. But then you get someone who's half the size who looks at you and kind of goes, "Be very careful," and then you go, "Ha, rightio," and you believe them because they are able to kind of convey that. So I do make an argument for
So
intimidation being tied to charisma.
I think where this is where I think like a more uh an experienced DM can like make that that determination of like, okay, so then you ask the player, how are you intimidating them? Right? So
Mm,
like if they say I'm intimidating them by like just showing my muscle, and saying don't you dare, then I would say yeah, that's probably charisma. But if they are showing if they are intimidating by actively taking the phone book and ripping it in half, like doing the actual show of strength at that time, then I would say roll plus strength.
I still wouldn't. I still,
You still wouldn't?
because for no, because for me it's okay. You can rip a phone book in half. Nothing about that has led me to believe that you are prepared to do that to me.
Okay,
You have
interesting.
not. You are a group of heroes that have come into the town and you're trying to find information on a series of murders, and I happen to be a person of interest. You come in and you kind of go, look at this hulking barbarian. It's like, okay, so he beats me and kills me. What information are you getting? You're not. So you need to be able to convince me, to make me believe you that you are prepared to do something. So, the whole argument of, oh, what about the barbarian? They're big. Yeah, the barbarian are big. Okay. Then if he's going to attack, he's going to attack.
So, do you think that then that would depend a little bit on the NPC? Like if they are a coward and easily scared by a show of strength, like would you then have the barbarian roll with strength? But if they are, someone with a whole lot more poise and um like strength of character, then you would have them roll charisma, or would you just adjust the DC?
I'd adjust the DC. I'd keep it as charisma because, yes, the barbarian, again, just because they're using strength, it if they're highly skilled in intimidation, it shouldn't matter.
Okay, what
If they
about
are high, if but 10 to 1, a barbarian wouldn't be the one intimidating. You big,
uh
strong barbarian, you probably get the face of the party going, have a look at him.
oh,
And
interesting.
if you don't do this, or if you don't give us this information, I'm going to hand you over to him, and look what he could probably do. That then it'd be a case of, right, I'm now believing this person. I'm 100% for intimidation being tied to charisma, and I don't believe it should be tied to strength because that's not what strength is for.
Interesting. Okay, what about like medicine? If someone is doing medicine in more of like a folklore sense than an intelligence
Hmm.
sense, would you like medicine is usually intelligence, but what if they are using like more of the folklore knowledge of um like herbalism, because they are more wisdom based, like a druid who's
I, I
might
mean,
be.
I'd probably allow that. I'd allow that
Mhm.
because that makes sense. That would make sense to me. That would, like, for example, there is a system that we played. It was our first actual play thing we did. It's a system called Bind, and it's done by our friend of the show, Marlin.
Sorry,
It is a
what is it
very
called?
Bind, Bind,
Fine. Okay.
and Bind stands for Bind is not D&D. Just a little, but yeah, it is the Bind RPG system, and it is one of the things that they did. One of the things that Marlin did is in the system was and again, he included intimidation, which I didn't necessarily agree with, but what he did is he had a table for the skills, and it was like rock climbing, acrobatics, blah blah blah. And then on the other side, it had all the stats. So, for example, rock climbing, you can use strength, but you can also use intelligence because you are figuring out the best way to go.
Hmm.
And he had basically this table of, okay, so if you pair rock climbing with intelligence, it's because you are kind of figuring out, you are looking at the thing that you need to climb, and you kind of figuring out which is going to be the optimal pathway. If you're using dexterity, you are being a bit more spry. You're kind of leaping more than actual using physical strength to climb. And I thought it was a really elegant system. I'm going to see if I can find the PDF and probably
Yeah,
see if
and
I can bring it up.
definitely send me the PDF. Um, one question I have is, so with these skills, was it a D20 system, or how were you?
I'm trying to remember. We actually played it, and it's been so long. Um, I do want to. I don't think it was a.
And the
I'll get
reason,
back to you. Let me
yeah.
try
So
finding
the
it.
the reason I ask is because Exalted has a similar thing where it has a list of skills and then it has a list of attributes, and you can
Hmm.
match any of those attributes to the skill. So again, if you are intimidating and you are using your strength to convey this intimidation, then you would use your strength plus, I forget if it was strength, but your strength plus intimidation. Or if and you're like you're saying rock climbing, so if you were using your climb skill, you can say I'm using my intelligence versus my strength. But the way it was is that the number of dots you had in any skill represented the number of d10s that you added to your pool, and then
Yeah.
you rolled your
Hmm.
d10 pool, and your success was based on how many dice rolled above a 7. um so
Hmm.
instead of it being like a d20 system where you add 3 plus 2, it's if you have 2 dots and 3 dots,
Yeah.
you would roll 5 dice altogether.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've just brought Bind up now. It is a 2d6 plus. It is a 2d6 system where you
2d6,
add
okay.
your attribute, and so you add your attribute and your skill. So the example they've got here, they've got academics, athletics, stealth, and vigilance. So for example, vigilance. You can use vigilance and strength, which is keeping a vigil. Vigilance and dexterity, which would be groping for something, or vigilance and speed, which would be combing through a forest.
Interesting,
So
interesting.
it, like, depending on the situation, you would use one attribute or another.
And so how much if it's a 2d6 system, what is the like max number that you can add?
Um, well, according to this, the example to this is the strength is at +2, so and the stealth is at a 2, so you could probably add a +4 to it.
Okay, so it might have a different because like empowered by the apocalypse, anything 1 through 6, or yeah, 1 through 6 is, an absolute failure, 7 through 9 is
Mm,
a mixed success, and 10 plus is an absolute success. And but you generally, the most you can get added onto your roll is 3.
mm. Yeah, no, I think this is very dependent on the skill and
And then does
the
it have a
attribute that you've
a
gotten.
changing system of what is a success and what is not?
I believe it's a set DC.
Set DC. Okay.
Um, so yeah, so players roll to beat the tie number whenever attempting something difficult and dangerous. So if they roll over, they succeed. If they roll under, they suffer the danger. If they roll a tie and the result is both or neither.
Oh,
It's worth checking out. I'm gonna post the link
yeah.
because it is
Do
worth
we,
checking
by
out.
the way, do
Um,
we have like a card or something where we keep like the list of links of things that we have? Um, I'm gonna ask you that
uh,
later.
yeah, because I've got them here on Riverside.
Yeah, yeah. I think we should create like an ongoing list of just things that we have referenced. Um, you know,
Yeah, that's a good idea
for
actually. Yeah, it's
true
not a bad
fans.
idea.
For true fans.
Yeah, exactly. true fans.
Uh,
But yes, I did like that. But I also do like Delta Green system where your attributes don't affect your skills whatsoever.
yeah.
So if you are skilled, that is your number. If you've got 40% in firearms, then it's 40%. Doesn't matter what your attributes are. Your attributes are used for something else.
So let's see, we've talked a little bit about being a GM. We've talked a little bit about, people getting into the hobby, like that it's okay if you're not into the hobby, and if you're into the hobby, what are the things that you might be looking for to have a good time, GM skills that you might need, especially when you're working with somebody new. Then we've
Hmm.
talked a little bit about like creative ways um to bend like the system rules to make them more flexible, and some various systems. um there was one thing that I got in a tangle with. What do you say to a person who says people who are only players shouldn't be contributing to discourse about TTRPGs? It's only the GMs that matter.
I'd punch that person in the face.
Right? Right? Um
That if anybody deserves a slap, it's that person. Just
yeah.
just right. There you go. Who said? Don't mention anybody's name
No,
because don't
I'm
want to
not
draw
gonna
anybody
mention
into.
it. If you follow my threads, you know who this is.
I'm
But
gonna be. I don't really go on social media, but I'm gonna have a look. Just
um
just out of curiosity.
yeah, yeah, well, we can
Ah,
talk about it later, but yeah, that I literally had someone who
what?
was like, if you're a player, you just like your opinions and like your things to talk about the hobby like don't matter, because the only people who contribute to the hobby are GMs. And I was like, wow, no.
That's excuse the language, but that person is a cunt.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
um my thing
When was
is,
this? Just out of curiosity, for no reason whatsoever.
it's
When was
been in the
this?
last week. It's been some ridiculousness in the last week. I posted about them because they were repeatedly harassing people, and I was like, not a safe person to be around. Um, but
Oh, I need
it's
to find.
just anybody
That's
I
just.
anybody
But the thing
who
is, it's that sort of level of gatekeeping is going to stop people from wanting to become a GM in the first place.
right, right, that was one of the things that I was saying, is that the thing about that is that isolates GMs in a way that will lead to burnout. It's like a collaborative, uh, you know, TTRPGs is a collaborative group sport.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong. The GM has a lot of work on their shoulders. They've got a lot to do, and a lot of kind of working to a certain extent for the players, but that is only to a certain extent. The rest of the time you're working with, you are creating a story between you. The GM prep. Obviously, some systems have more prep than others, but other than that, you are creating a story together. So why?
Maybe
Oh,
I don't, how much have we talked about, cuz we've talked like quite a bit about like GM advice and the like, but maybe we should with Misfit talk a little bit more about player advice, how to be a better player to support your GM and your fellow players.
I think for me as a GM, the only thing that I require from players is preparedness. I want them to be ready.
Yeah, but
You
I'm
know,
saying just like
it's
in general, like we always give a lot of tips to GMs, but I think there are tips that we can give to players too. Of
know your characters, know your
know
character.
your characters. You
But
know,
not only mechanically wise, know your characters' motivations, know what makes them tick, know what kind of drives them, as well as knowing the mechanics.
yeah,
Because a lot of times, if I'm the sort of GM, especially if I'm playing a minutia heavy game such as Pathfinder, I don't question that. The players will kind of go, okay, so I'm doing this spell, and this spell does this. Cool. I I've got enough to do that I need to be able to trust that my players are going to get that right.
yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
know your characters.
yeah, I think my advice would be stuff like be ready to have an open dialogue with your GM. Don't be afraid to give suggestions to your GM if there's like if the GM's like, what do you see around you? Like, don't be afraid to go ahead and improvise, and
Hmm.
don't be afraid to ask your GM, can I do this? But be open to hearing the GM say no.
Yeah, you know, and but the thing is, you got to ask for the right reasons.
Mhm.
You got to ask for the right reasons because a lot of times, and I've had it where they've come and kind of gone, hey, you know what would be really cool, and they'll come and ask me something about their player, and it is clearly to be able to gain an unfair advantage. It's like
Mhm.
that's kind of defeating the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
If you want something for your player, just ask me outright. Just kind of go, my player, I've seen this really cool item. For example, let's go back to because everyone can resonate with it. Let's go back to your D&Ds and your Pathfinder. No, fuck it, I'm not talking about that bullshit. Let's talk about Savage Worlds. Somebody comes up in Savage Worlds and says, "I want this item. I figure it'd be cool. I figure it'd be narrative. Can I have it?" Okay, let's think about that. Is there a way that I can introduce it to the story? Is there a way that I can, put it at the end of a quest for you to get? Is there a reason, or maybe your character has heard of it and your character wants the item, so maybe we can make that the quest. Be prepared to work with the GM. The GM, give me ideas to work with.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
Absolutely.
like I said to you last week when you told me about the cannibal thing, it's like 7 ideas. There we go. I would be on that. I would be on that and immediately kind of going, this is what, right. Here we go. Was the tribe misunderstood? Has the tribe been victims of bad publicity? And
Ooh, change the world
you,
lore
you,
a little bit.
and yeah, let's go. Let's go to this thing where you can find out that this tribe, no, the tribe created this lie about cannibalism so that people would stay away because they are in fact
Okay.
protecting a grave sort of danger or something like that. Give me ideas, you give me plot hooks and I will run with them. That if you want to be a good player, that is one thing you can do.
So this is something that I think that we should talk about in the future is established lore, like games that come with a large amount of established lore versus games that allow the GM to build the world. Um,
Hmm.
we don't have time for that now, but I add that to our list of things. I like writing down our list of things to talk
yeah
about.
you yeah you have been ordained I'm trying to think of the right word. The bookkeeper, the bookkeeper,
um
the taskmaster of the show.
Also, speaking of, by the way, do we have an email address?
We do, but there's been a few changes on the website of things. I need to double check that it is working because I think I've
Okay.
got it as currently as questions at too legit to crit.uk.
All right. So
Um,
we'll look into that information, but again, for anybody who is listening to this after the fact, please do, if anything that we've talked about has sparked an idea, a question, a comment in addition to what we're
mm,
talking about, put that in the comments, and we're going to comb through at some point and look at what all the comments have been on the videos, so that we can talk about it again, and we'll work on the the email, so that like you can email if you have a question or an idea. We love talking about TTRPGs, and we love hearing your ideas too.
yeah, 100%. We are approachable. We are, whether it's on social media, whether it's on like the comment section of like Spotify or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We are approachable, and yeah, it may take us a bit to kind of respond because I think there are so many at this point. But yeah, get in touch with us. Please get in touch with us, and tell us to talk about something. If there's something that interests you and you
And give
want
us your
our take on it,
comments too.
yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm just going through the comments from some of the last videos. Fudge6579 says, I thought that the table was some metaphor for finding your right place. And I guess it is, but then I realized it was a D&D thing. So, we're even reaching people outside of the hobby, which is amazing.
Oh, that's really cool.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm always looking, always kind of looking up at the comments. Some of them are probably not as nice, but they just get deleted. But
Yeah.
yeah, see if I can find any comments. But yeah, there are quite good comments. So please get in touch with us, and especially if there's topics or something like that you want us to talk about, because we need ideas too.
Yeah.
At some point Zoop's going to finish that list that she's writing. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, and we'll rely on you for ideas, and next time we'll have Misfit here as well, who always has amazing contributions.
Oh yeah, Misfit. Some really unexpected ones. It's like, huh, okay, did not see that coming, which is good because it kind of puts us on the back foot.
Yeah. I
You
think my
know,
favorite part of this conversation was you and I disagreeing about the way to rule something.
yeah, 100%. Intimidation is charisma. Fuck that.
I now have to go
Anyway,
home and think about myself really deeply. I'm very
you
excited about
should.
that.
Yeah, you should. So yeah, the last episode got a shout out from D&D with D, which was basically this was a great episode that was super insightful and awesome information. We love props as well. I
Yeah.
personally, if you want to give us props, we'll take it. We'll take it any day of the week.
And
So
D&D,
what should we talk about next? Yeah, please.
yeah, I was just gonna say, D is also a great person to, you can follow her on socials, and she's got a Discord, and that's a great way to find people to play with if you're looking for
Mm.
people to play with.
You know where else
Yeah.
you can find people to play with is our Discord.
Oh.
I will be updating our link tree where we've got all that information, but we'll have the Discord on there. People can join in and just meet a fantastic group of people on there.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
And yeah,
I know
don't
it's
know. Go ahead.
Please, yeah, you first.
I was gonna say I don't know what we're gonna talk about yet next week, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be good.
Yeah, it always is. We'll come up with something. But I think yeah, I'm pretty happy with where we are. I don't think we need to kind of carry on or pad this out any longer. I think we've had a good conversation, and I think it is probably good that we bring this to a close. So, do you want to talk about anything that you've got upcoming in the works?
Um I got let's see. Uh, it's the beginning of the year, so we're figuring stuff out. I still have every other Monday. We're now level 17 D&D on D&D with D. Um uh, on Imagine If on the fourth Monday of the month. Every month, I'm doing Queer and Quozy, which is just a bunch of us folks getting together and telling softer stories. Short, soft stories, like an hour and a half. Um, and let's see, there's always the podcast, there's always the Game Master Monday podcast. This month is Zoops Soups, so I ran 2 games with different people who have GM'd me in the past, getting to return the favor to them. And they're all soup based games. We're currently planning out the next year on Game Master Monday, on for Convention Zero, where we're planning the next one. But you can see what I'm doing at zootmachine.card.co or following me on socials.
As for me, I'm on most of the socials. I'm not as active as I used to be, but I'm always there lingering. You can find me at Natural Juan or at Too Legit to Crit. And as we said before, if you do have any questions, if you do have anything to comment, just please leave the comments below. And if you haven't done so yet, just hit subscribe so you can get all the notifications about when we go live next. I want to say thank you to the Dungeon Maestro for the use of our theme song. Go check out their stuff on their YouTube channel. It's fantastic. Also want to thank everybody who's tuned in to us recording live. It's great to have you guys with us. I also want to thank Zoop for joining me this evening. And most of all, I want to thank everyone who takes time out of their busy day to listen to us waffle on about tabletop role-playing games. Thank you very much, and good night.